up, ZERT Nation? Mr. X here. Last week I talked to you guys about how to pass the NSS, and I basically told you guys the fundamental that I think is the most important, and that is trigger pull. It doesn't mean forget about all the other fundamentals, but it does mean that whenever I try to shoot for accuracy or shoot the NSS, all my attention, all my thoughts, I am focused on a nice, clean trigger pull every time I pull the trigger. Usually when you're shooting and you're thinking about draw stroke, you forget about the other fundamentals. When you're thinking about stance, you forget about the other fundamentals. So when you shoot the NSS, I want all your attention to go to that trigger pull. In saying that, there's three focuses, three primary aspects to a proper trigger pull. Last week I covered the amount of effort when you're pulling the trigger. Pull that trigger, pull the weight out of that trigger 1 pound at a time. There's no reason to apply 10 pounds of pressure to a 3.5 pound trigger. All you need to do is apply 1, 2, 3 pounds of pressure. And I don't want to say guarantee that gun's not going to move, but the likelihood of that gun moving, if you only put enough, apply enough pressure to that trigger, will significantly reduce your sights moving off that target. So effort is number one. This week I want to cover the second thing. And usually when I practice this, I don't even have a gun. I usually just use my hand. I'm going to show you how I teach this and how I do this and how I train on this, whether it's dry firing or in a class or whatever. So like I said, last week we talked about effort. This week, the second part, I'm going to talk about isolation. Now, I want you guys to do this drill, and I want you to follow after me. I want you to make a nice C with your hand and pretend like you got a ghost gun in the C of your hand. So just pretend like there's a gun in there, remove that gun, make a C, and I want you to grip that imaginary ghost firearm with as much pressure as you usually apply when you grip a handgun. Some people say 100%, they say grip that thing, grip it till you shake it, I don't care. But once you grip that imaginary gun and leave a little space right here, I want you to apply pressure to that imaginary trigger. And what you're going to see is going to happen is exactly what happens to my hand. If I apply a ton of pressure, see my hand shaking, when I apply pressure to that imaginary trigger, my fingers move. Hopefully you guys can see that. My fingers are moving here. If you y'all's fingers are moving, that means that these fingers are probably moving inside that grip. So if your fingers are moving inside that grip right there, a little bit of movement, that's probably moving your gun. And most likely it's going to be moving your gun to the left. So if you isolate that trigger finger and learn how to isolate that trigger finger, you're going to have less movement when you grip that firearm and pull that trigger. So what I try to do is I try to keep and stay completely relaxed whenever I grip this handgun. So you guys might not be able to see it. Try to put that behind something. But if my hand's completely relaxed, I can completely isolate that finger. And as I isolate that finger, I'm isolating the finger separate from the other fingers. So as I draw that handgun and pull that trigger, I have a tendency to not move the grip and not move that handgun as much. Now, one of the things that I do to kind of train on that and kind of strengthen up my grip is I will use, and I'm not going to show you guys the name, hopefully. Doesn't matter which ones you use, but there's these little grip strength little doohickeys. But whenever I do this, and this one's adjustable from 20 pounds to 90, and I have it on 20 pounds right now. Whenever I use this, I actually isolate my trigger finger. I don't grip this with my trigger finger. So I'll hold this for about 10 seconds or 10 trigger pulls, and I will keep the same tension on the tool, and I will sit here and I will actually move my trigger finger for 10 reps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Without moving this. And you see I'm not doing this, moving my grip, and I'll do this with my left hand. I've actually noticed this helps with my left-handed shooting a lot more in the past year since I've done a lot more and train a lot more. So I will isolate this. Sometimes I'll touch 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, switch back and forth. But don't even pick up a firearm when I do this. I'm isolating the trigger finger. That's the second aspect to a proper trigger finger. Next week I'll cover the third one. I think you guys might already know. Don't give any hints. But like I said, first one is effort. Second one is isolation, and the third one I'll cover next week. Hope you guys practice and train on this stuff. Do it while you dry fire, and add this to your training routine, and I'll see you guys next week.